Okay, so welcome to the first video tutorial. We'll just quickly get up and going. I'm going to go ahead and type in Grasshopper to open up Grasshopper. To help if I, there we go. Type it in the command line in Rhino, just like any other command. Bring up the Grasshopper window. Whoops, sorry about that. Okay, and so here we go. I have a few quick files to show you. They're sort of ready made. So the first one is called box one. Surprise, it makes a box. Just move this over so we can see Grasshopper and Rhino at the same time. All right, so this is a widget that makes a box from a center point. So it asks for a base plane, right? In this case, I've passed the XY plane, the world plane. So if you can think about, again, your Cartesian coordinate system, X, Y, and then Z, right? So I have an XY plane situated at the 0, 0, 0 point. And then the dimensions. So here we go, size of box in the X direction and the Y direction and the Z direction. In this case, I've plugged in number sliders, so I can begin to adjust X, Y, and Z. All right. Nothing really special here, just, again, the key thing is, we're always looking for, particular command. Most of these you can find up here, and a lot of them correspond to the, the commands that you're familiar with in Rhino, the native environment. And so Grasshopper definition, what you'll see at the left of every widget are input ingredients, and then to the right, the outputs. You always plug in from left to right. Information flows from left to right. I mean, I can do this, but you can see still that, this flows from here all the way to this box. Okay, so best practices is to make sure that you're reading things from left to right. It's a lot less confusing when you adhere to that standard. All right, now here's box 2. It's slightly different. I'll let you figure out or look closely at this and try to figure out what the difference is, right? I mean, we still have number sliders for these. But it looks like the Y dimension has changed because I've plugged in a different plane, a different base plane. In this case, I plugged in the XZ plane. You can see it highlighted in green here. So instead of being a horizontal plane, an XY plane, now it's an XZ plane that I've plugged in. Okay, and so that changes the orientation of the box. Now there's the Z direction of the box. It's relative to this plane that we plugged in as the base plane. So the Z of this plane becomes the Z of this box. All right, and last but not least, hopefully I haven't bored you too much. We're doing a little bit of arithmetic here. This is a similar setup. Here we have the XY plane from before, the very first box01 file. Plugged in for the base plane, we're making a box. We use a slider A for X. And we're doing a little something different for what's plugged into Y and what's plugged into Z. So in other words, we're taking the value from the A slider and the B slider, we're adding them and taking that sum and plugging that in for Y. And then for Z, we're doing even something different. We're taking that sum and we're dividing it by C and then using the result for our Z coordinate or our Z dimension. And so this acts about how you would expect, right? If I adjust A, it adjusts both X and Y at the same time, right? Because Y is dependent on A and X is dependent on A. If I change B, that changes the Y direction. It also changes the Z, right? Because Z is dependent on A, B, and C altogether. What's interesting here is that Z expands as I expand A, right? Z gets larger as I make B larger. But C and Z have an inverse relationship, right? Because we're dividing something by C in order to create Z. So they have an inverse relationship as C, the slider I'm adjusting here gets larger than the actual Z dimension gets smaller, right? And vice versa, of course. Okay, very important. It's not like we'll be making lots of just silly little boxes, but I think this is the easiest way to sort of describe or show you guys what's going on when we're just sort of connecting things up. And so Stay tuned. The next one, I'll just create one of these from scratch, and we'll start to get involved with finding the right widgets, dragging, dropping, connecting things up, adjusting number slider values, etc. Okay. All right.